How many times have you been setting up at a gig and suddenly you realize you have no idea where your tuning key is? That has happened to me so many times, and I won't be able to find it. I'll be in the middle of setting up. I spend 30 seconds trying to find it. Eventually I just give up, but then it suddenly shows up in the most obvious place later. Well, that's really irritating, and I realized I'm wasting my time constantly losing my tuning keys, because then I pull out another tuning key, start working with that one, then I set that one down and forget where I set it. Then I pull out a third tuning key and then end up losing that one too. And so before I know it, all my tuning keys are gone, even though they're somewhere right there at my drum set. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna finally take the time to try and solve this problem, figure out a way to keep up with my tuning keys so that I'm not constantly losing them on a gig. Now, there are a few easier, more obvious solutions to this, like attach the tuning key to a keychain. So you've got it on your keys. I actually used to do that a lot, but I found it kind of annoying having like the whole thing of keys stuck on the tuning key while I was trying to work with it. It just ended up being kind of frustrating and not really worth the benefit of being able to keep up with it that way. You could also attach it to a carabiner and attach that to a belt loop maybe, or you could even get a little more hipster with it and attach it to a necklace and like wear a tuning key necklace. But then you've either got to take it off your head or you've got to like bend over really weird while you're tuning your drum, and so that gets kind of awkward too, and that only works so well. You could also just keep it in your pocket, but then I also found that it's difficult to pull a tuning key in and out of your pocket while you're sitting still, so then you end up having to stand up. By the time you've done that, well, you've lost your focus because you were trying to tune something down here, not something up here. So I ended up ruling out all of the methods of keeping the tuning key on your person. So here's some ideas I came up with. Depending on the size of your tuning key and depending on the size of the little air hole on the top of your kick drum, you could set it in there. Now that's really just for while you're setting up, because as soon as you start playing that, you're going to hear it rattling, and so that's only going to work for so long. You could also paint it pink or neon orange or green or something. I've joked about that one for a long time and I've never actually done it, but hey, if you've got your tuning key a color that you can see in a dimly lit room or on a dimly lit stage in the shadow of a drum, you're probably going to be able to find it when you're shining a flashlight around. You're not going to have to spend quite as much time trying to find a silver tuning key that blends in with everything else. So that, as ridiculous as it sounds, might actually be worth the trouble. Something else I also played around with, if your tuning key does have the little hole in it so that you can attach it to a keychain, you could use either a key ring or a paper clip. You could stick a paper clip through it and make a hook out of it so that you can hang it on the lug of a drum with that paper clip. That way you don't just have the tuning key sitting on the lug, because that's going to rattle and probably get in your way. If you've got a paper clip attached around it, you can actually leave it there while you're playing, and it's probably not going to make any extra noise. Using the paper clip to attach the tuning key around the top of the drum lug isn't really a foolproof method. It might stay, but it wouldn't take a whole lot of a bump to knock it loose. Pops off very easily if it gets hit, especially from the underside. But if we loosen up the paper clip enough and kind of open that up a bit so that we can actually hook it around the lug screw lower down where it's a bit more foolproof, that might actually work where it's not going to go anywhere. That seems pretty sturdy. We can knock it around. It's probably not going to go anywhere. Now that takes a little bit more effort to get it onto there and to take it off, but it can potentially be very secure. So all of those methods are pretty viable methods, but I wanted to come up with something easy that I can stick to and do every time I'm done using my tuning key. So it occurred to me, the tuning key I use a lot is this Evans magnetic tuning key. It's really great, I really like it. Well, because the tuning key itself is magnetic, it sticks to a magnet really well. I've noticed that some tuning keys, maybe they're made of aluminum or something else, but they don't stick to a magnet. This one does. So if you stick a magnet onto the side of your hi-hat stand or any kind of hardware, whatever, that magnet's gonna stick to, then you can slap the tuning key on there when you're done with it. So you don't even have to worry about the paper clip, the key ring, looping it around something. You don't even have to think about that. You can just slap it on there with your left hand and then pull it off when you're ready to use it, stick it back on there, and you can just have that magnet stuck right there on the hi-hat, and it's not gonna go anywhere because it's a magnet that's stuck to the hardware. So even when the hardware goes into your bag, you pull it out next show, next gig, it's still there. If you do have one of those tuning keys that isn't a magnetic metal, then I did notice that paper clips are magnetic, and so you can attach a paper clip to that tuning key if that's possible, and then you can slap the paper clip onto the magnet, and so it works that way. So really, as long as the tuning key is a magnetic kind of metal, or if it's got the key ring hole in it, then you can make this work. And so then same thing, I can come over here, slap it right onto the hi-hat stand. So there you can see why I'm not as big a fan of the paper clip on the tuning key idea as I am just getting a tuning key that is naturally magnetic. The paper clip tuning key will stick on there, it will stick to the magnet, it's just a little bit tougher to make sure that it stays. And part of it might be because that paper clip is a little bit bent up because I've been sticking it on the lugs and stuff. And so if you make sure that you've got enough surface of that paper clip on the magnet, it's probably gonna stick, but it'll take less of a bump to knock it off than if you've got this one on there. So I've really found that to be the most dependable method because it's quick and easy. The magnet's always going to be there. I can always slap it onto the hi-hat stand with my left hand, and so it's not a hassle to remember to do that, and so it's natural, and I haven't lost one yet. I'd love to hear any ideas you've got for keeping track of your tuning keys. This is something that I really hadn't thought about a lot until I just reached that ultimate point of frustration on a gig not too long ago. And so I'd love to hear whatever ways you've been keeping up with your tuning keys. I really hope this video helped you out. If it did, you know what to do, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment, share with somebody else. Thanks everybody so much for watching.